The emergency signal cut through the quiet hum of the medical station like a knife. Dr. Kate Sullivan looked up from her research notes as the red light flashed across her laboratory wall. She had been working on protein synthesis for the past 6 hours, but the urgent transmission made her forget all about her tired eyes and aching back. "Dr. Sullivan, please report to Communications Bay 3 immediately," the voice crackled through the intercom system. Kate recognized the tone. This was not a routine call. She grabbed her lab coat and hurried down the metal corridors of Meridian Station. The medical facility hung in space between 3 star systems, serving as a neutral ground where different alien species could receive treatment. Kate had worked here for 5 years, and she had never heard such urgency in the station. Commander's voice. The communications bay was filled with static when she arrived. Lieutenant Ben Martinez was adjusting the transmission equipment, his face tense with concentration. "We're getting a signal from the Zephrian homeworld," he said without looking up. "It's coming through on all emergency frequencies." Kate felt her stomach tighten. The Zephrians rarely asked for help. They were one of the oldest species in the galaxy, known for their incredible knowledge of medicine and biology. If they were calling for human assistance, something was terribly wrong. The static cleared, and suddenly the room filled with the image of a tall, graceful figure. The Zephrian woman had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light, and her large, dark eyes held a depth of sadness that made Kate's chest ache. Her name appeared on the screen: Veltara, Senior Lifeweaver of the Zephrian Medical Council. "Human doctors," Veltara began, her voice carrying the musical quality that all Zephrians possessed. "I am Veltara. I come to you not as a representative of my people, but as a mother who has nowhere else to turn." Kate stepped closer to the screen. She had met Zephrians before, but never one who looked so defeated. These beings were known for their pride and their certainty that they possessed the best medical knowledge in the galaxy. "My daughter, Nixara, is dying," Veltara continued. "She suffers from a condition we call void syndrome. Her cells are breaking down at levels we cannot understand or repair. Our greatest healers have tried everything. Our most advanced technology has failed. The Council of Lifeweavers has declared her condition beyond cure." The image shifted, showing a young Zephrian girl lying in what appeared to be a medical pod. Nixara looked to be about 16 in human years, though Kate knew that Zephrian aging was different from human aging. The girl's blue skin had a gray tint to it, and even through the screen, Kate could see that something was fundamentally wrong with her cellular structure. "The disease attacks at the quantum level," Veltara explained. "It unravels the very foundation of her being. Each day, more of her life force fades away. We estimate she has perhaps 3 weeks before the damage becomes irreversible." Kate found herself leaning forward, studying the readings that appeared alongside the image. The medical data was unlike anything she had ever seen. The girl's cells weren't just dying, they were dissolving at a subatomic level. "Why are you contacting us?" Kate asked, activating the communication link. "Your medical technology is far more advanced than ours." Veltara's expression grew even more pained. "Because you humans have something we do not. You have the ability to see solutions where we see only impossibilities. Your species has a reputation for medical breakthroughs that defy conventional wisdom. Stories of your healing abilities have spread throughout the galaxy." Kate felt a flutter of both pride and terror. The Zephrians were placing their hope in human medicine, but she knew that their technology was centuries ahead of anything humanity had developed. "I will be honest with you," Veltara continued. "Many of my people believe this request is beneath our dignity. They think that asking a younger species for help is a sign of weakness. But I am a mother first, and I will try anything to save my child." The image shifted again, showing more detailed scans of Nixara's condition. Kate's training kicked in as she analyzed the data. The quantum-level cellular breakdown was unlike anything in human medical literature. It was as if the girl's very essence was being erased piece by piece. "We can transport her to your station," Veltara said. "Our life support systems can keep her stable during the journey." But I must warn you, this condition has never been cured by any species in the galaxy. Even attempting treatment could be dangerous for both my daughter and your medical team. Kate looked at Ben, who was shaking his head slightly. His expression clearly said that this was beyond their capabilities. And logically he was right. If the most advanced medical civilization in the galaxy couldn't cure this disease, what hope did humans have? But something in Veltara's eyes reminded Kate of her own mother, who had died when Kate was young. The desperate love of a parent facing the loss of a child was universal, transcending species and technology. How long do we have? Kate asked. She can survive the journey, but once she arrives, time will be critical. The quantum decay accelerates when she is moved from our specialized treatment chambers. We estimate you would have no more than 10 days to find a solution. Kate felt the weight of the decision settling on her shoulders. Taking this case would mean risking not just her career, but potentially her life. Quantum-level medicine was dangerous and unpredictable. If something went wrong, it could affect everyone on the station. I need to consult with my team, Kate said finally. And I need to be clear, I cannot promise success. This is beyond anything humans have attempted before. I understand, Veltara replied, but will you try? Will you at least examine her and see if there is any hope? Kate closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of all the reasons she should refuse. The case was impossible. The risk was enormous. The chance of success was essentially zero. Then she opened her eyes and looked at the image of Nixara, a young girl whose life was slowly fading away while her mother watched helplessly. Bring her here, Kate said. We'll do everything we can. Relief flooded across Veltara's face, and for the first time since the transmission began, she smiled. Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. I will prepare for departure immediately. And Dr. Sullivan, whatever happens, you have already given me something precious. What's that? Hope. The transmission ended, leaving Kate alone with Ben in the quiet communications. He looked at her with concern and disbelief. Kate, you know this is impossible, right? We're talking about quantum-level cellular repair. We don't even have the equipment to properly diagnose what's wrong with her, let alone fix it. I know, Kate said quietly. But we have to try. That's what makes us human, Ben. We try when everyone else gives up. Ben shook his head but smiled. Despite himself, you're either the bravest person I know or the most foolish. Maybe both, Kate replied. But that girl is going to die if we don't at least attempt something. And I'd rather fail trying than succeed at doing nothing. As they walked back toward the medical bay, Kate felt the familiar mixture of excitement and terror that came with taking on an impossible case. She had 3 days to prepare for the arrival of a patient that the most advanced medical civilization in the galaxy had given up on, but she also knew that sometimes the most important breakthroughs came from the most desperate situations. And, sometimes. The key to solving an impossible problem was simply being willing to try when everyone else had stopped believing in miracles. 3 days passed faster than Kate had hoped. She spent every waking hour reading about Zephrian biology and quantum cellular structures. The medical database contained limited information about void syndrome, mostly because so few cases had ever been recorded. What she found was not encouraging. The disease seemed to target specific genetic lines within the Zephrian population. It had appeared only recently in their history, roughly 200 years ago when they began exploring the deepest regions of space. The symptoms were always the same: a gradual breakdown of cellular integrity at the quantum level, leading to inevitable death. Dr. Alan Cooper, the station's chief medical officer, had been skeptical from the beginning. He stood in Kate's laboratory now, arms crossed, watching her prepare the specialized equipment they would need. Kate, I've been thinking about this case, he said. Maybe we should contact the Galactic Medical Council. This is beyond our capabilities. Kate looked up from the quantum scanner she was calibrating. The Galactic Medical Council already knows about void syndrome. They've classified it as incurable. Every major species in the galaxy has tried to find a treatment. Exactly my point, Alan replied. If civilizations with thousands of years of medical advancement can't cure this, what makes you think we can? Before Kate could answer, the communication system announced the arrival of the Zephrian transport ship. Her heart began to race as she realized the moment of truth had arrived. The docking bay was filled with activity as the sleek Zephrian vessel connected to the station. Kate watched through the viewing window as Veltara emerged, followed by a team of Zephrian medical specialists carrying a specialized life support pod. Through the transparent walls of the pod, Kate could see Nyxara for the first time in person. The young Zephrian girl was even more fragile than she had appeared on the transmission. Her blue skin had a grayish tint, and Kate could see strange dark patterns spreading across her arms and face like cracks in glass. "Dr. Sullivan," Veltara approached with her characteristic grace, though Kate could see the strain in her movements. "Thank you for agreeing to help us. I know this is an enormous risk for your station." "We're honored to try," Kate replied, though her confidence wavered as she looked at the medical readings on the pod's display. Nyxara's condition was worse than the initial scans had suggested. The Zephrian medical team, led by a stern-looking healer named Zephrian, began setting up their equipment in the medical bay. Kate watched with fascination as they deployed technology that seemed to bend reality around it. Holographic displays showed three-dimensional models of cells that moved and shifted in ways that hurt to look at directly. "This is our most advanced cellular reconstruction chamber," Zephrian explained in a clipped tone. "It can manipulate matter at the subatomic level. We have used it to attempt 17 different treatment protocols on Nyxara. All have failed." Kate studied the readouts, trying to understand what she was seeing. The quantum patterns were unlike anything in human medicine. It was as if Nyxara's cells were being pulled apart by some invisible force that operated outside normal physics. "When did the symptoms first appear?" Kate asked. 6 months ago, Veltara replied, her voice heavy with exhaustion. She had been perfectly healthy. Then one morning, she woke up with gray spots on her skin. Within days, our healers detected the quantum decay. Was she exposed to anything unusual before the onset? Zephrian and Veltara exchanged glances. "She was part of an expedition to the Void Nebula," Veltara said reluctantly. "It was meant to be a routine survey mission, but the nebula contained cosmic phenomena we had never encountered before." Kate felt a spark of interest. "What kind of phenomena?" "Quantum storms," Zephrian explained. "Areas of space where the normal laws of physics become unstable. We lost 3 ships in the nebula before we retreated. Nyxara was on the survey team that made first contact with the storm." This was the first new information Kate had received about the disease's origin. She made notes as she continued her examination of Nyxara. The girl was unconscious, kept in a medically induced sleep to reduce the stress on her failing systems. "Has anyone else from the expedition developed symptoms?" Kate asked. 2 others, Veltara admitted. "They died within weeks of the first symptoms appearing. Nyxara has survived longer than anyone expected, but her condition is deteriorating rapidly." Kate connected her scanner to the Zephrian equipment, trying to get a clearer picture of what was happening inside Nyxara's cells. What she saw made her step back in shock. The girl's cellular structure was not just breaking down, it was being rewritten by some form of quantum interference. The patterns looked almost like a computer virus, but one that operated at the level of fundamental particles. "Dr. Cooper," Kate called to her colleague, who was observing from across the room. "I need you to see this." Alan joined her at the scanner display. His face grew pale as he studied the readings. "This isn't a disease," he said quietly. "It's some kind of quantum contamination. What do you mean?" Veltara asked, stepping closer. Kate tried to explain in terms that would make sense to everyone. "When your daughter was exposed to the quantum storm, it appears that her cells absorbed some kind of foreign quantum signature. This signature is now overriding her natural cellular programming. We theorized something similar," Zephrian said, "but our attempts to remove or neutralize the contamination have failed. The quantum signature is too deeply integrated into her cellular matrix. Kate continued her examination, using every piece of equipment available on the station. The more she learned, the more impossible the situation seemed. The quantum contamination had spread to every cell in Nixara's body. It was like trying to remove ink from water after it had already mixed completely. "There's something else," she said after several hours of testing. "The contamination isn't random. It has a pattern, almost like it's trying to transform her into something else." "Transform her into what?" Veltara asked, fear creeping into her voice. "I don't know," Kate admitted. "But the quantum signature doesn't match any known form of life. It's like nothing we've ever encountered." The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. Kate could see the despair growing in Veltara's eyes as she realized that the situation was even worse than they had thought. "Is there any hope?" the Zephrian mother asked quietly. Kate looked at the readings again, searching for any possibility they might have missed. Traditional medicine was useless against quantum contamination. The Zephrians had already tried every conventional approach, but as she studied the data, something caught her attention. The quantum signature wasn't completely alien. It reminded her of something she had seen before in her research on human cellular regeneration. "Ben," she called to Dr. Martinez, who had been quietly observing from the corner. "I need you to run a quantum analysis on these patterns. Compare them to the data we collected from the Human Stem Cell Project." Ben raised an eyebrow but moved to his computer terminal. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that maybe the reason no one has been able to cure this disease is because they've been thinking about it wrong," Kate replied. "Everyone has been trying to remove the contamination or fight it. But what if the solution is to work with it instead?" "Explain," Zixbron demanded. Kate turned to face the group, her mind racing with possibilities. "The quantum signature is trying to transform Nixara's cells into something new. What if we could guide that transformation instead of fighting it? What if we could use human stem cell technology to give her cells a new template to follow?" "That's impossible," Alan said immediately. "Human and Zephrian biology are completely incompatible." "At the normal level, yes," Kate agreed. "But at the quantum level, the rules might be different. If we could modify human stem cells to carry the right quantum signature, we might be able to give Nixara's cells a new pattern to follow." Veltara looked at Kate with a mixture of hope and desperation. "Would this cure her?" "I don't know," Kate admitted. "But it might give her a chance to live, even if she's not exactly the same as before." The silence stretched as everyone considered the implications. They were talking about attempting something that had never been tried before, using technology that barely existed to save a patient that every expert in the galaxy had given up on. How long would this take? Veltara asked. Kate looked at Nixara's deteriorating condition. "We'd need to start immediately. And there's something else you need to know. This procedure would require a human donor to provide the stem cells. The process could be dangerous for both the donor and the patient." "I'll do it," Kate said without hesitation. "Kate, no," Alan protested. "You don't understand what you're volunteering for. This could kill you." "And doing nothing will definitely kill her," Kate replied, nodding toward Nixara. "We have to try." Veltara stepped forward and placed a gentle hand on Kate's shoulder. "Are you certain about this, Dr. Sullivan? I cannot ask you to risk your life for my daughter." Kate looked at the sleeping girl, then at her mother's desperate face. She thought about all the reasons she should refuse, all the ways this could go wrong. But she also thought about the oath she had taken as a doctor, and the promise she had made to herself to never stop trying to save lives. "I'm certain," she said. "Let's get started." The next 18 hours passed in a blur of preparation and testing. Kate found herself working alongside Dr. Ben Martinez and Dr. Lisa Parker, a bioengineering specialist who had arrived on the morning transport. Together they formed the core team that would attempt what no one in the galaxy had ever tried before. The medical bay had been transformed into something that looked more like a physics laboratory than a hospital. Quantum field generators hummed quietly in the corners, their displays showing patterns of energy that shifted and danced like living things. The Zephrian equipment had been integrated with human technology in ways that should have been impossible. The quantum signature mapping is complete, Ben announced, looking up from his workstation. I've identified the specific patterns that are causing the cellular breakdown. The contamination is definitely trying to rewrite Nixara's DNA, but it's incomplete. That's why her cells are dying instead of transforming. Kate nodded as she reviewed the data. The quantum storm had left Nixara's cells with instructions they couldn't follow. It was like trying to build a house with only half the blueprints. What about the stem cell preparation? She asked Lisa. That's where we're running into problems, Lisa replied, her face showing the strain of the past day's work. Your stem cells are healthy and active, but when we try to quantum modify them, they become unstable. The human cellular structure can't handle the quantum signature patterns we need. Kate felt a stab of disappointment. She had hoped that human adaptability would be the key to solving this problem. What if we try a different approach? I've been thinking about that, Ben said. What if the problem isn't with the stem cells themselves, but with how we're trying to modify them? Maybe we need to think about this differently. Dr. Ryan Foster, the quantum field theorist who had joined their team, looked up from his calculations. I think Ben is right. We've been trying to force the quantum signature into the human cells. But what if we let the human cells interact naturally with the quantum field and see what happens? Kate considered this. It was a dangerous idea, but all of their ideas were dangerous at this point. What are you suggesting? We create a controlled quantum field environment, Ryan explained. We expose your stem cells to the same type of quantum patterns that affected Nixara, but in a controlled way. Let them adapt naturally instead of forcing the change. That could kill the cells, Lisa pointed out. Or worse, it could create the same kind of contamination that's killing Nixara. True, Ryan admitted. But it's also the only approach we haven't tried. Kate looked across the room at Nixara, who was still unconscious in her medical pod. The girl's condition had worsened since her arrival. The gray patterns on her skin had spread, and her life signs were becoming increasingly unstable. How long do we have? Kate asked. Maybe 3 days, Valtara said quietly. She had barely left her daughter's side since arriving at the station. The quantum decay is accelerating. Our life support systems are having difficulty keeping up. Kate made her decision. Let's try Ryan's approach. We'll create a controlled quantum field and see how my cells respond. Alan Cooper, who had been unusually quiet during the preparations, finally spoke up. Kate, I have to officially advise against this course of action. We have no idea what exposure to quantum fields will do to human cells. You could be creating a contamination that spreads to other humans. We'll take every precaution, Kate replied. The quantum field will be contained, and we'll monitor everything carefully. And if something goes wrong? Alan asked. Kate looked at him steadily. Then we'll deal with it. But I'm not going to let that girl die because we were too afraid to try something new. The preparation took another 6 hours. The team worked carefully to create a quantum field generator that could produce the same type of energy patterns that existed in the Void Nebula. The device looked like a crystal chamber surrounded by spinning metal rings, and it made Kate's teeth ache just to look at it. The field is stable, Ryan reported. We're ready to begin the stem cell exposure. Kate had already provided the necessary cells, and they were now suspended in a nutrient solution inside the quantum chamber. She watched nervously as Ryan activated the field generator, the chamber filled with a strange, shifting light that seemed to bend and twist in impossible ways. Kate could feel the quantum energy in the air, making her skin tingle and her vision blur slightly. Cell activity is increasing, Lisa reported, watching her scanners. The quantum field is definitely having an effect. Minutes passed slowly as they monitored the cells. Kate found herself holding her breath, waiting for any sign of what was happening inside the chamber. Wait, Ben said suddenly, his voice filled with excitement. Look at this. The display screen showed the stem cells at a molecular level. Instead of dying or becoming contaminated, they were changing in a controlled way. The quantum patterns were being absorbed and integrated into the cellular structure, but slowly and naturally. They're adapting, Kate breathed. The human cells are actually adapting to the quantum signature. More than that, Lisa added, studying her readings. They're not just adapting, they're learning. The cells are developing new structures that can process quantum information. Zephrian, who had been observing silently, stepped forward. This is unprecedented. Zephrian cells cannot adapt to quantum contamination. They simply break down and die. Maybe that's because Zephrian cells are too specialized, Kate suggested. Human cells are more primitive, more flexible. They might be better at handling unexpected changes. The process continued for 2 more hours. The human stem cells were completely transformed, but they remained stable and healthy. More importantly, they now carried the quantum signature that Nixara's cells needed to complete their transformation. It worked, Kate said, hardly believing it herself. We actually did it. But their celebration was cut short when alarms began. Sounding from Nixara's medical pod. The girl's condition was deteriorating rapidly. She's going into quantum cascade failure, Veltara said, her voice tight with panic. Her cells are breaking down faster than our equipment can compensate. Kate looked at the modified stem cells, then at the dying girl. We need to proceed with the treatment now. We can't wait for more testing. Kate, no, Alan said firmly. We don't know if this will work. The quantum-modified cells could make her condition worse. She's dying anyway, Kate replied. This is her only chance. Veltara looked at Kate with desperate eyes. Dr. Sullivan, I trust your judgment. What do you need from me? I need you to authorize the treatment, Kate said. And I need you to understand that this procedure has never been attempted before. There's a very real possibility that it could fail. I understand, Veltara said without hesitation. Please. Save my daughter, Kate turned to her team. Lisa, prepare the quantum injection system. Ben, monitor the cellular integration process. Ryan, keep the quantum field stable. We're going to inject the modified stem cells directly into Nixara's bloodstream and hope they can teach her cells how to complete the transformation. What about the risks to you? Ben asked. The quantum entanglement process could create a permanent link between you and Nixara. Kate had been trying not to think about that possibility. The modified stem cells carried part of her genetic signature, and quantum entanglement could create unpredictable connections between people. We'll deal with that if it happens, she said. Right now, saving Nixara is more important. The team worked quickly to prepare the injection system. Kate watched as her modified stem cells were loaded into a quantum delivery device that would transport them directly to Nixara's failing cells. Are you ready? Lisa asked. Kate looked at Nixara one more time. The girl's face was peaceful despite the chaos happening in her body. She reminded Kate of her younger sister, who had died in a medical emergency when Kate was still in medical school. That loss had driven Kate to become a doctor, and now she had a chance to save someone else's sister. I'm ready, Kate said. The injection began slowly. Kate watched the monitors as her modified stem cells entered Nixara's bloodstream and began seeking out the contaminated cells. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, suddenly, the girl's quantum signature began to change. The chaotic patterns that had been destroying her cells started to organize and stabilize. The modified stem cells were teaching Nixara's cells how to handle the quantum transformation. It's working, Ben said in amazement. The cellular breakdown is slowing down. More than that, Lisa added. Her cells are actually beginning to repair themselves. Kate felt a surge of hope, but she also felt something else. A strange tingling sensation was spreading through her body, and she realized that the quantum entanglement was beginning. Kate, your quantum signature is changing too, Ryan warned. The link is forming faster than we expected. Kate could feel it now, a connection forming between her consciousness and Nixara's. It was like having someone else's thoughts mixing with her own, creating a confusion that made her stumble. Should we stop the procedure? Alan asked. No, Kate said firmly, even as the strange sensations intensified. We keep going. This is Her chance. The quantum entanglement grew stronger, and Kate began to experience flashes of memories that weren't her own. The quantum entanglement was unlike anything Kate had ever experienced. One moment she was standing in the medical bay watching Nixara's monitors, and the next she was floating in a strange space between consciousness and reality. She could feel the Zephrian girl's thoughts mixing with her own, creating a confusing blend of memories and emotions. Through Nixara's perspective, Kate experienced the quantum storm that had started everything. She felt the terror of being caught in space where the laws of physics bent and twisted. She saw her fellow Zephrians screaming as their ships were torn apart by forces they couldn't understand. And she felt the moment when the alien quantum patterns invaded her cells, beginning the slow process of transformation that had nearly killed her. But Kate also brought her own memories into the shared consciousness. Nixara experienced human emotions and thoughts, feeling Kate's determination to save lives and her refusal to give up even when faced with impossible odds. The Zephrian girl had never encountered such stubborn hope before. In the medical bay, both bodies were convulsing as their consciousness merged. Veltara stood beside her daughter's pod, tears streaming down her blue face as she watched the procedure unfold. "Their vital signs are becoming synchronized," Ben reported, his voice tight with concern. "Kate's heartbeat is matching Nixara's exactly." "The quantum field is destabilizing," Ryan called out from his control station. "The entanglement is stronger than our models predicted." Lisa watched her scanners as the modified stem cells continued their work throughout Nixara's body. "The cellular repair is accelerating, but the quantum link is pulling too much energy from Kate. Her body can't handle this level of entanglement." Alan moved to check Kate's vital signs. Her blood pressure is dropping and her brain activity is off the charts. "We need to break the connection before we lose both of them." "No," Veltara said firmly. "Look at my daughter's readings. For the first time in months, her cells are rebuilding instead of breaking down. If we stop now, she will die." In the quantum space between their minds, Kate was fighting to maintain her own identity while helping Nixara's consciousness stabilize. The Zephrian girl's thoughts were filled with confusion and fear as her cells underwent their transformation. Kate tried to project calm and strength into their shared awareness. She showed Nixara memories of recovery, of patients who had survived impossible conditions through determination and hope. But the process was draining her energy faster than she had expected. The alien quantum patterns that had contaminated Nixara were not just rewriting her cells. They were trying to transform her into something entirely new. Kate could feel the change happening, and she realized that the modified stem cells weren't just healing the damage. They were guiding the transformation in a controlled way. "The quantum signature is stabilizing," Ben announced. "But Kate's consciousness is getting lost in the merge. We might not be able to separate them." "What does that mean?" Veltara asked. "It means they might be permanently connected," Lisa explained. "Their consciousness could become permanently entangled. We don't know what that would do to either of them." Meanwhile, Kate was discovering something unexpected in the quantum space. The alien patterns weren't random contamination. They were actually a form of evolved consciousness. The quantum storm had been trying to communicate with Nixara, not destroy her. But Zephrian biology couldn't handle the advanced quantum information, so the communication had become corrupted. Human consciousness, however, was different. Kate's mind was more flexible, better able to adapt to the strange quantum patterns. She began to understand what the alien consciousness was trying to accomplish. The quantum entity had been exploring the galaxy for millions of years, learning about different forms of life by briefly merging with them. When it encountered Nixara, it had tried to share its knowledge, but the process had gone wrong because Zephrian cells weren't designed for such advanced quantum interaction. Kate realized that the modified stem cells were creating a bridge between human adaptability and Zephrian biology. They were allowing Nixara to safely receive the quantum entity's gift without being destroyed by it, but the process required Kate to serve as a permanent translator between the alien consciousness and Nixara's mind. The entanglement wasn't a side effect, it was necessary for the treatment to work. Back in the medical bay, the monitors were showing dramatic changes in both patients. Nixara's gray skin was beginning to clear, and the dark patterns that had been spreading across her body were transforming into beautiful, glowing designs that pulsed with soft light. Her cellular structure is completely reformed, Lisa said in amazement, but it's not entirely Zephrian anymore. She's becoming something new. What about Kate? Alan asked. Ben checked Kate's readings again. Her consciousness is stabilizing, but she's definitely permanently linked to Nixara. Their quantum signatures are now completely entangled. Suddenly, both Kate and Nixara opened their eyes at the same moment. For a brief, terrifying instant, it seemed like they might have become one person inhabiting two bodies. Then Kate spoke, her voice slightly different than before. We're okay. We're still ourselves, but we're connected now. Nixara sat up in her pod, moving with a grace that seemed almost supernatural. When she spoke, her voice carried new harmonics that hadn't been there before. The entity meant no harm. It was trying to share knowledge to help us evolve, but our biology couldn't handle the gift. Veltara rushed to her daughter's side. Nixara, are you my daughter? The young Zephrian smiled, and her eyes sparkled with newfound understanding. I am still your daughter, Mother, but I am also more now. The quantum entity has given me the ability to perceive reality at levels we never imagined possible. Kate slowly stood up, testing her balance. She could feel Nixara's presence in her mind, not overwhelming but definitely there. It was like having a constant, gentle companion in her thoughts. The treatment worked, Kate said, but not in the way we expected. The quantum contamination wasn't a disease, it was an attempt at communication. Nixara's cells are now able to process quantum information safely. What does this mean for both of you? Veltara asked. Kate and Nixara looked at each other, and they both knew the answer without speaking. We're permanently connected, Kate explained. We can share thoughts and perceptions across any distance. And Nixara has gained abilities that no Zephrian has ever possessed. To demonstrate, Nixara held out her hand and created a small field of pure energy that danced between her fingers. I can manipulate quantum fields directly now. The entity's gift has awakened abilities that were always potential in Zephrian biology, but never accessible before. Ryan stared at the energy display. This is beyond anything we understand about physics. She's controlling quantum forces with her mind. Not just her mind, Kate corrected. Our minds. The connection allows me to help her process the quantum information. Human consciousness acts as a stabilizing influence on the alien knowledge. Zixron, who had been silent throughout the procedure, finally spoke. This is unprecedented in all of Zephrian history. You have not just cured the disease, you have created a new form of life. But are you still human? Alan asked Kate. And is Nixara still Zephrian? Kate considered the question carefully. She could feel the changes in her own consciousness. The expanded awareness that came from her connection to both Nixara and the quantum entity. We're still ourselves, but we're also something new. The quantum link has changed us both. Will this connection cause problems? Ben asked. Can you function normally? We think so, Nixara replied. The connection enhances our abilities rather than limiting them. Kate can now perceive quantum fields like I can, and I have access to human emotional flexibility that helps me control the new abilities. Veltara was crying with relief and joy as she held her daughter. You're alive. After all this time thinking I would lose you, you're not just alive, you're extraordinary. There's something else, Kate said quietly. The quantum entity isn't gone, it's still connected to us, but safely now. It wants to share its knowledge with other species to help them evolve and grow. But it needs interpreters like us to make the communication safe. What are you saying? Veltara asked. Kate and Nixara exchanged another look through their quantum connection. We're saying that this was just the beginning. The entity has been trying to contact other species throughout the galaxy. There might be others who have been affected by quantum contamination, others who could be helped the same way we helped Nixara. But it would require more quantum links, Alan said, understanding the implications. More people would have to undergo the same kind of transformation you both experienced. Only if they choose to, Kate said firmly. No one should be forced into this kind of connection. But for those who are willing, we could create a new form of medicine that operates at quantum levels. As the immediate crisis passed and the medical team began to process what had happened, Kate realized that they had accomplished something far greater than curing a single patient. They had opened a door to an entirely new understanding of consciousness, biology, and the nature of life itself, but they had also created new responsibilities. The quantum entity was still out there, still trying to communicate with other species. 6 months had passed since the day that changed everything. The medical bay of Meridian Station had been transformed into something that looked like a combination of a hospital and a research laboratory. Equipment from dozens of different species filled the rooms, all working together to understand the new form of medicine that Kate and Nixara had discovered. Kate stood in front of a holographic display showing the quantum patterns of their latest patient, a young Altarian whose species had encountered the same quantum entity during their exploration of deep space. Like Nixara, the boy had been dying from what his people called soul fade until Kate and Nixara had intervened. The cellular integration is proceeding normally, Nixara said, her voice carrying the new harmonics that had developed since her transformation. She was monitoring the quantum fields around the patient with abilities that still amazed everyone who worked with her. The Altarian boy, whose name was Kethvo, was the 10th patient they had successfully treated using their new quantum medicine techniques. Each case had taught them more about how different species could safely interact with the quantum entity's advanced consciousness. How are you feeling about the link? Kate asked Kethvo as he sat up in his treatment pod. The quantum entanglement process had been refined over the months, making it less traumatic but still requiring careful monitoring. Strange but wonderful, the boy replied in his musical Altarian language. Kate could understand him perfectly now, thanks to the quantum connection that allowed instant translation between consciousness patterns. I can see colors that have no names and feel the movement of stars I cannot see. His mother, Athara, stood beside the pod with tears of joy streaming down her golden face. For 3 months we thought we would lose him. The soul fade had progressed so far that our healers had given up hope. The quantum entity means no harm, Nixara explained. Gently, it simply wants to share knowledge and help species evolve. But without proper preparation, the contact can be dangerous. Kate checked the boy's readings one more time. His quantum signature was stable, and the cellular transformation was complete. Like Nixara, he would now possess abilities that his species had never developed naturally. You'll need to practice with your new perception slowly, Kate advised. Don't try to use all your abilities at once. The quantum awareness can be overwhelming if you're not careful. Dr. Ben Martinez approached with a data pad in his hands. Kate, we just received another transmission. This time it's from the Crystalline Collective. They're reporting similar symptoms among their people who explored the Singing Void region. Kate nodded. Over the past months, they had received requests for help from 17 different species across the galaxy. The quantum entity had been trying to make contact with many civilizations, but only a few had the right biological conditions to survive the initial communication attempt. How many this time? She asked. 12 individuals showing quantum contamination symptoms, Ben replied. But Kate, there's something else. The Galactic Medical Council wants to meet with you and Nixara. They're calling an emergency session. Kate felt a mixture of pride and concern. The Galactic Medical Council was the most prestigious medical organization in known space, made up of representatives from the most advanced civilizations. For them to call an emergency session meant that word of the quantum medicine breakthrough had spread throughout the galaxy. Do they want to study our methods or shut us down? Kate asked. Unknown, Ben admitted. But given how revolutionary this treatment is, it could go either way. Nixara placed a gentle hand on Kate's shoulder. Through their quantum link, Kate could feel her confidence and determination. "We knew this day would come," Nixara said. "We've proven that the treatment works and that it's safe when properly administered. We have nothing to hide." 3 days later, Kate and Nixara found themselves standing before the full assembly of the Galactic Medical Council. The chamber was enormous, with representatives from over 40 different species arranged in a complex three-dimensional seating arrangement that accommodated various forms of alien biology. The council's presiding officer was a tall, elegant being from the Etherian species, known for their advanced understanding of consciousness and mental health. Her name was Luxandra, and her translucent features reflected the chamber's soft lighting as she spoke. "Dr. Kate Sullivan and Nixara of the Zephrian people," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems. "You stand before this council to answer questions about the medical procedures you have developed using what you call quantum consciousness medicine." Kate stepped forward. "We're honored to appear before the council. Our work has been guided by the simple principle of saving lives that were otherwise considered beyond help. Yet your methods involve permanent alteration of consciousness and the creation of quantum links between individuals," said a representative from the Rigid Mechanist Collective. "Such procedures could be considered dangerous manipulation of the fundamental nature of sentient beings." Nixara responded with calm dignity. "Honorable council members, the quantum entity that initiated these transformations has existed for millions of years. It has been trying to share knowledge and assist in evolution, not to harm or control. The permanent connections are a side effect of the treatment, not its primary purpose. But these connections create new forms of consciousness that have never existed before," argued a member from the Conservative Traditionalist Alliance. "How can we be certain that these transformed individuals are still the same people they were before treatment?" Kate had expected this question. It was one she had wrestled with herself during the early days after her transformation. "Council members, I can tell you with certainty that I am still Kate Sullivan. My memories, my personality, my core values, all of these remain unchanged. The quantum connection has enhanced my abilities and given me new perspectives, but it has not altered who I fundamentally am. The same is true for all 15 patients we have successfully treated," Nixara added. "Each individual retains their original personality and identity while gaining new capabilities that help them better understand the universe around them." Veltara, who had been permitted to attend as a witness, stood to address the council. "Honorable members, 6 months ago, my daughter was dying from a condition that your finest medical minds had declared incurable. Today she is not just alive, but possessed of abilities that have advanced our understanding of quantum physics by centuries. Dr. Sullivan and my daughter have given hope to species across the galaxy who were facing similar loss." The debate continued for hours. Some council members were fascinated by the potential applications of quantum medicine, while others worried about the implications of fundamentally altering consciousness. Kate and Nixara answered every question patiently, demonstrating their abilities and explaining their methods. Finally, Luxandra called for a recess to allow the council to deliberate. Kate and Nixara waited in a small chamber adjacent to the main assembly hall, using their quantum link to share thoughts and support each other. "Whatever they decide," Kate said quietly, "we know we've done the right thing. We've saved lives and opened new possibilities for medical treatment. And we've shown that cooperation between species can achieve what isolation cannot," Nixara added. "The quantum entity chose to work through both human and Zephrian consciousness because each brings something unique to the process." When the council reconvened, Luxandra's expression was serious but not hostile. "After extensive deliberation, this council has reached a decision regarding quantum consciousness medicine." Kate held her breath, knowing that the council's ruling would determine whether their work could continue or whether they would be forced to stop helping patients who desperately needed their unique treatment. "We hereby recognize quantum consciousness medicine as a legitimate and valuable medical practice," Luxandra announced. "However, due to the permanent nature of the treatments involved, we established the following guidelines." The guidelines were reasonable, informed consent from all patients, thorough psychological evaluation before treatment, and ongoing monitoring of all quantum-linked individuals. Most importantly, the Council authorized the establishment of the first human Zephrian Joint Medical Research Initiative with Kate and Nixara as co-directors. Furthermore, Luxandra continued, we authorized the construction of specialized medical facilities throughout the galaxy where quantum consciousness, medicine can be safely practiced and studied. Kate felt tears of relief and joy streaming down her face. Not only would they be allowed to continue their work, but they would have the resources to help far more patients than they ever could have alone. 6 months later, Kate stood in the main laboratory of the new Quantum Medicine Institute, watching as teams of doctors from dozens of different species worked together to treat patients and advance their understanding of consciousness and quantum biology. Nixara joined her at the observation window, their quantum link allowing them to share the moment of pride and satisfaction. Together, they had created something that transcended the boundaries between species and opened new possibilities for healing and growth. The quantum entity is pleased with what we've accomplished.